Hello everyone and welcome to this first quarter release of 2026 of SAP Datasphere. My name is Selwa Al-Moussaoui and I am a SAP consultant. I'm here today with an SAP Datasphere expert, Wouter.
Thank you, Salah. Yes, I've been working since 20 years in SAP Analytics. Of course, Datasphere has not been around since 20 years, so the last 5 years I've been doing a lot of Datasphere projects and also with the first version of Datasphere, SAP Data Warehouse Clouds for various companies and also in various use cases like proof of concept.
Interesting. So today we're here with one biggest of most interesting feature of SAP Datasphere, which is the task chain error and success ports in Datasphere. So to just quickly show this new feature, we go into SAP Datasphere, into the data builder, and if we create a new task chain, we can select our first task. So for example, this one, and we immediately can see the new feature, which are these 3 buttons here. So the green one, the red one, and the blue one. So to just quickly explain those, so the blue one means that the flow just keeps on going without having to be dependent on the result of this one. Then the green one will be executed if it's successful, and the red one when something fails. So if we add a new task here, we can choose which one to link it to. So for example, the green one, like this. And if we click on the arrow itself, we can change the outputs based on this selection here. And we can also add multiple tasks like this. So this is the feature shown. Wouter, in which case would this be useful for the end users?
Yes, that's definitely a very interesting new feature of SAP Datasphere, something we also seen before in SAP Business Warehouse. Well, a use case in generally, companies are implementing task chain in a modular way, which then ends up in a general task chain, which they then can schedule on a daily basis. Mm-hmm. And in this task chain is usually they start with master data loading or flat file loading and end up with transactional data loading up to their reporting layer. So it is interesting because they want to make sure that the next morning, if they schedule a nightly load, that their daily business reports, sales reports, or finance reports during closing are definitely up to date, even if there is a small failure in the master data loads. So then they can use one of the task ports to make sure that after the master data loads, the transactional loads definitely will continue. And in the same time, they can use the task ports of error handling to make sure we have a parallel chain which executes a flow for error handling, so IT can, in parallel, when the business when business uses their up-to-date reports, IT can then send out error reports to the business and analyze the problems themselves.
Sounds indeed like a feature that will be used by many. So also something that I saw is this new feature, the ignore error button. So if I enable this one, it shows on the task itself, ignore error. Could you explain a bit more about this feature?
Yes, this could also be very interesting for very specific cases when we have flows where we have, for example, an end user who uploads a budget data file, which we know in beforehand that can cause data quality issues. But using the ignore error button, we can make sure that the status of the general task chain remains green if a failure happens on such a task. It could also be like a task which calls an API from another application, which we know will fail beforehand. And this way, the task chain, the general task chain, so the report for IT will be green, and also the subsequent task chains will keep on running on a daily basis.
Okay, so if I understand correctly, if something happens in this task, the tasks that are underneath it won't be affected. It will just be executed like normally, and the overall status will
remain green. Yeah, indeed.
Okay, perfect. So this also concludes this feature of SAP Datasphere. So this was the biggest feature and the most interesting feature of this first quarter release of 2026. Sam and Yannick will be explaining the next features of SAP Analytics Cloud. So thank you for watching and hope to see you in the next one.
Yes, thank you, Salwa.
Thank you, Walter.
Hi guys, welcome to the new quarterly release video of SAC. Today we're covering some of the highlights of the new releases, and I'm Yannick, SAP consultant at Flexo, and I brought with me one of our senior consultants, Sam.
Hello, my name is Sam. Many years experience in a lot of different planning tools, and of course also a lot of years experience with SAP Analytics Cloud.
Great. So for our first feature, we have the new Quick Builder. We'll dive directly into a quick demo. So here we have our dashboard in view mode. There are two ways to open this new Quick Builder. The first one is to go via the context menu, already there before. You open Quick Builder, and here you can add dimension to the rows. For example, I also want to see the region, or for example, oh, now I can only see sales. I also want to see our expenses. It's just very easy, very drag and droppy. There are two ways to open this via the context menu, but also you can script it via a button. But what are now the real pros of using the Quick Builder, Sam?
Good question. Since a lot of years, SAP has invested quite a lot of time in the data analyzer, which could also be accessed through the menu that you just shown, but it was going into a separate interface. Now the real advantage here is that you can still allow the end user to, from a widget as this table, for example, to still go to in further analysis, where they can open up this panel and drag and drop more dimensions without going to a separate interface.
Okay, nice, very convenient. For our second feature, we have the replacement of dimension tables. Very technical, but can you explain it a bit more in detail, Sam?
Yeah, indeed. So typically when you do a model, when you build a model, you decide on the dimensions that you will include, being it private dimensions or public dimensions. Now, what you sometimes face is during a project when you build more models, you find out it might have been a good choice to still share the dimensions between the models, but with a private dimension, it's not possible. So, but with this feature, you can still opt to make a new public dimensions and in both models to swap out the private dimension. Before it was a lot of manual steps to do so, but now you can go in your model, decide the dimension you want to update, and then just swap it with another dimension, for example, a public one.
Okay, nice, very convenient. Now, while we're at the topic of public dimensions, our third feature concludes the multiple use of public dimensions in one model. What does it exactly mean, Sam?
Yeah, so a typical case is, for example, company code and trading partner, or sold to and shipped to, which are considered as separate dimensions, but they rely on the same master data typically. So in this case, you could have a sold to and a shipped to customer, but both referring to the customer master data. So the advantage is that you only need to maintain one time your dimension, but you can use it twice in your model.
Okay, nice. So well, this wraps up our quarterly release video for SAC in the quarter one of 2026. I'll look forward into knowing which feature you're most excited about.
Yeah. Thanks a lot for watching, and see you in the next release video.
Thank you. Bye-bye.